Identity isn't something we're born with already finished. According to Toledo, identity is a permanent construction. It's shaped through the subject's relationship with their environment and with other people. It's not the sum of social, psychological, or cultural traits, and isn't given from the outside, it's built. Shawshat adds two key elements. Identity has permanence, meaning the sense of remaining the same self over time, which answers the question, where am I in relation to my environment? And it has singularity, the certainty of being unique and distinct from others, which answers, who am I in relation to other people? On top of that, the subject isn't just a mirror of society. According to Bajoit, the subject has the capacity to define themselves, to respond, and even to resist what the environment expects of them. For example, two people who grow up in the same neighborhood can build different identities, because each one interprets and responds differently to those same social conditions. Recognition matters because, as Toledo and Shawshat are, identity is never built in isolation. It's always built in relation to others and to one's environment. And that relationship isn't neutral. The knowledge and reality material puts it clearly. The knowledge a society accepts as valid determines whether a person or group is appreciated or despised, respected or attacked, recognized or discriminated against. The philosopher Axel Honneth backs this up. He identifies three types of recognition: close affection, legal respect, and social esteem, and shows that the absence of any one of them directly damages a person's self-esteem and their sense of security in who they are. The actors that shape this process are family and close relationships, peers or one's social group, institutions like school or law, and nowadays media and social networks. The structural conditions include the social relations that constitute the subject, personal history and biography, cultural context, and the shared moral order. The knowledge and reality material points out that we all have a role in the construction of the moral order we live in. An example is, the APA reports that nearly 7 out of 10 adults in the US have experienced some form of everyday discrimination, which is a number that shows in real terms how the lack of social recognition affects the construction of identity of millions of people.
Mexican immigrants in the United States are one of the clearest cases of a false identity built on ignorance and not evidence. For decades, political speeches, exaggerated news stories, and the false idea that being undocumented makes someone a criminal have created a distorted public image, one that doesn't match reality. This false identity has three defining characteristics. First, the criminal stereotype. Despite being the most politically discussed, national data tells a different story. A growing body of research shows immigrants commit crimes at lower rates than US born people. And by 2020, immigrants were 60% less likely to be incarcerated than the native born population. One study even found Mexican immigrants have roughly half the risk of experiencing violence compared to non migrants. Second, the economic burden myth. In truth, Mexican undocumented immigrants alone earned nearly 92 billion in household income in 2019 and paid almost 9.8 billion in taxes that same year, while 96% of them are employed, filling essential roles in agriculture, construction, and hospitality. And lastly, the outsider narrative, the idea that they don't belong or won't integrate. Research shows that 60% of second generation Hispanics identify as typical Americans, twice the rate of the first generation. Each of these three traits, the criminal, economical, and outsider, were built on assumption, not fact. The statistics don't just support the argument, they dismantle it point by point, replacing stereotype with a documented working, tax-paying, integrating community. The numbers don't end the conversation, but they do expose how much of this identity was built on misinformation.
These false identities have real consequences to Mexican immigrants. The first consequence is the discrimination. When people see immigrants like criminals or outsiders, they may face unfair treatment at work, at school, or when looking for housing. These stereotypes make it harder for these people to be accepted and have the same opportunities as everyone else. The second consequence is the poor mental health. Constant discrimination and rejection causes stress, anxiety, and depression. A study by Borges and his colleagues found that discrimination is linked to mental health problems among Mexican immigrants in the United States. In the end, these false identities don't just change how people are seen; they also affect their opportunities, well-being, and also their quality of the life.
To conclude, False identities about Mexican immigrants cannot be eliminated through tolerance alone. They must be challenged with evidence and concrete actions. First, media organizations and social media platforms should fast-check immigration claims, publicly correct false information, and include the voices of Mexican immigrants. This is important because the idea that immigrants are criminals contradicts the evidence. By 2020, immigrants were 60% less likely to be incarcerated than people born in the United States. Second, schools and workplaces should create mandatory workshops that combine immigration statistics with real testimonies from Mexican immigrants. For example, participants should learn that undocumented Mexican immigrants earn almost $92 billion and paid approximately $9.8 billion in taxes in 2019, while 96.7% were employed. These facts show that Mexican immigrants are not criminals, outsiders, or economic burdens. Replacing misinformation with verified evidence and real human experiences is essential to building a global society where people are recognized for who they truly are.